If you have followed this programming series from the beginning, then I want to congratulate you on getting this far. Programming isn't easy and requires a lot of practice to master. If you stumbled on this video out of order, then the link to the rest of these videos are in the description. Now that we've covered a lot of various techniques, it's time to learn how to use subroutines to effectively create larger programs. A subroutine is a block of code that we can separate from the main program and use a simple subroutine identifier to run that code whenever we want. This is useful for a number of reasons. It allows us to make our code easier to read and understand. It allows multiple programmers to work on a project simultaneously by giving them separate subroutines to work on. It allows us to test different parts of our program easier. And it allows us to reuse other subroutines from other programs. So let's see how we can create subroutines in C#. I've written a lot of code here, so let's break it down. Here we can see that I have created a calculator that adds two numbers together. Our two inputs are here, however the code we use to add the numbers together are here, outside of the main subroutine. What we have done is created a separate subroutine which we have named calculate_add and put in the two lines of code that adds them together here. The calculate_add is known as our subroutine identifier. The same way we can choose the name of a variable identifier, we can choose the name of our subroutine identifier. I've decided to call this subroutine calculate_add because it is a short but descriptive way of identifying what the subroutine does. You may have also noticed I have written static void in front of the calculate_add identifier. The reason for this will become clear in a later video when we talk about functions. But for now, if you want to create a subroutine, just place a static void in front of our identifier. To activate these two lines of code, we write the name of the subroutine when we wish for it to be run in the main part of the code. This is known as calling the subroutine. I have done this after we have created our two inputs. Running the code will look like this. So to break it down, our code will take in the two inputs, then we run the code inside the calculate_add subroutine, then we run our final two lines of code after that. You may have noticed that the variables num1, num2 and answer are used in both subroutines. Therefore, I have placed these variables num1, num2 and answer above the main subroutine, along with the static type. If I were to move these variables inside the main subroutine, then the other subroutine no longer has access to them. Variables inside a subroutine are known as local variables. Variables that have access to all subroutines are known as global variables. Now the problem with global variables is that when we run our program, any global variables will be in memory for the entire time we run the program. If we only use this variable during a small section of the program, then it is inefficient to keep that part of the memory reserved for a variable we hardly ever use. So, when appropriate, it is always better to use local variables rather than global variables. But how do we get a local variable from one subroutine to another? This is done in the following way. In the brackets of a subroutine, we declare that when calling this subroutine, we want to have two variables passed into the subroutine. In this example, we would like two integers. In the main subroutine, we have called the calculate_add subroutine and placed the num1 and num2 variables in the respective parts of the brackets, separated by a comma. That means a copy of each variable will be placed into each of the variables in the calculate_add subroutine. The answer variable is not actually used in the main subroutine, so I have moved it into the calculate_add subroutine, meaning that the answer variable only takes up memory when that subroutine is called. This method of sending variables from one subroutine to another is known as passing variables. The variables declared in the brackets of the subroutine are sometimes referred to as arguments. It is important to note that you don't always have to pass variables through the brackets. In this example, I have hard-coded the values instead, calling the subroutine 3 times, but getting different results depending on the values I pass into the variable. Now it is time to practice subroutines by completing some of these challenges. If you can do all 4 challenges without help, then let me know in the comments. Remember, to complete these challenges you have to use subroutines, not just code them in the main subroutine. If you would like to see step-by-step answers to these challenges, there will be a follow-on video which I will pin in the comments. If you learned something new from this video, or enjoyed it otherwise, please give this video a like and tap that subscribe button for more coding videos.